Great. Welcome to Lastest News. My name is Rob, and today we just got a couple of things to go over, and because it's Sunday and I don't want to take too much people's times, but there's something coming across the desk where we took a look at what could potentially make Celsius investors whole. And it's an interesting idea, and I'm behind it, but there's a couple of catches, and we'll go over all those things. And then lastly, or next to last, tip of the hat over to tokenomics as they bring forth Web3 and NFTs real utility. I got to tell you, it was a pretty good idea, and I just want to talk about it real quick. And then lastly, we'll do a little Q&A. But before we get into all that, I just want to make mention of one important, probably the most important thing for today. Never forget, this is September 11th. I know a lot of people don't talk about it as much. You don't hear it on the news. You certainly as hell are not going to hear too much about it on YouTube, but it is what it is. Don't ever forget this day and exactly what happened. And I just want to say a moment of silence for all those people, those poor people that lost their lives on the airlines that flew into the towers, the people in the towers, the brave men and women who rushed in to save those people as the buildings were collapsing. Also, the health and different problems that they have moving forward as they were battling on ground zero. And then all the brave servicemen and women who lost their lives in the war. And where did it get us? So, there are things, though, that we can take from it. And it's not a very, it's important that we look back and see what exactly happened. I'm not going to go too much into it, but it's about the mentality. And I know that a lot of us in the space, we've taken a lot of heat, especially the Celsius and Voyager investors, crypto investors, and investors around the world. However, it's the mentality. And there are certain aspects that you can take from this and just think to yourself, is this really the worst thing that's happened to me? I mean, yes, we've all lost, for our positions and things like that. We've all lost a different amount of crypto, and some people have lost their entire life savings. However, it is the mentality that pushes us forward. I know these are the tough times, but these are the ones where millionaires are made. And I want you to just to think about this as I play this little snippet. It's about 20 seconds long. Think about how bad things are for you and how you control it. Only deal with the things that you control and get rid of all the things that you cannot control. And it really comes down to, again, how you can actually deal with things. And to bring this point home, there's an audio clip. And this is from Brian David Sweeney. It's nothing that is too provocative or too out there, but I want you to listen to this gentleman's voice as he is on the flight 175, 20 seconds, how calm he is, how he knows where things are going, and how he handles it. And I want you to remember this when you're thinking about, oh man, I'm 10% down, I'm 20% down my portfolio, or this happened. Just listen to this.
Jules, this is Ryan. Was on an airplane that's been hijacked. Things will go well. I'm looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So absolutely fine. Things to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you. And I'll see you later. Hi, Dave. Bye, call you.
And this is him. Well, first of all, here's his wife. She gives a good interview. Links in the description. You can watch the whole thing. This is a gentleman right here. Stout guy, very calm. And in the face of all these different things, this is when, heroism or courage is actually revealed. So I know that there are some different problems that are going on in maybe your life or a lot of people's lives around you. But just remember, it's all about how you deal with the things that are going on. All right. So that was the piece for just a little mentality and moment of silence. Now let's get into it. Making Celsius investors whole. And I got to tell you, this one, when I was taking a look at it, it did make a lot of sense. And this was it was a tweet. The people who are organizing around the Celsius official committee of unsecured creditors. And it makes a lot of sense about here what's going on. So what they're going to do is they're going to give an opinion of where things could go. And when I took a look at it, I'm like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a couple of catches. There's some things that I definitely would not agree on. But if you like what you see here, what I would like you to do is use the Twitter handle for the Celsius official committee of unsecured creditors. Those are the ones that are supposedly fighting for us. And talk to them and send out a tweet to them and say, this looks like a viable option. So let me blow this up real quick. Let me stop my screen, share my tab so you actually hear it. This is about 2 minutes in length. Listen to this. I think it can go a long way.
You'll have the option to sell your equity on a secondary market or HODL. Hey UCC, listen up. We've created a rockstar restructuring plan to make Celsius depositors whole. We believe the Bitcoin mining business is the company's most tangible asset and the best way to fill the hole in Celsius's balance sheet. Let's break it down. We want to provide equity to customers for their missing funds and crypto. More specifically, we want to give 51% of Celsius Mining LLC to creditors in the form of paper equity, with plans on going public in the next bull market. For example, if you had $100,000 on the platform at the time of bankruptcy and Celsius had a 30% hole in its balance sheet, that means $30,000 is the amount of funds you're missing, and therefore the equivalent amount of equity you'll receive in the Bitcoin mining business. The rest of your funds, in this example 70%, would be returned to you and fellow creditors with a time lock on withdrawals to prevent another bank run. You'll have the option to sell your equity on a secondary market or HODL that equity until a potential liquidity event like an IPO. Why is this great for creditors like you and I? Bitcoin mining competitors Riot and Mara did 100x gains on their prices in the last cycle. Instead of selling your crypto at the bottom of the bear market, you'll instead have equity in a Bitcoin mining company with potential for great returns. So, what are the next steps? Celsius Mining LLC to become its own separate standalone entity. Complete the mining facility build-out and be profitable by Q1 2023. IPO during the next bull market, approximately 2025, and get listed on the Nasdaq. For more detailed information.
So there you go. So there's a couple of things to break down there. And of course, there's always a catch, right? We can take a look at that and go, well, that sounds pretty good. But then there's a whole thing about waiting. And then for me, when I thought about it, I go, well, I'm going to be here for the long haul anyhow. So what's the point? So I could see where this is going. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just, I'm not a financial advisor and I can't tell you what to do. But as far as like making people whole, there's always going to be reasons and options. But I think this would be just the long haul. However, there's a couple of things. First of all, why 51%? Let's be honest. Did you or I, didn't we front the whole bill? Didn't we take all the risk? So why are we getting 51%? No, that's not going to happen. So it's got to be at least 75, 80%, if not 90% or more to get into this. Because when we came through, it wasn't like, oh, you guys take the risk. No. It was all of us that took the risk. So if we're going to go through with that plan, you better believe it's going to be more skewed to my side. And then the next part was, and it talked about how it would have to be a whole new separate company. Well, absolutely. Can you imagine that these clowns who were running Celsius to actually be a part of this? No, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that could actually happen. So if we take a look at that, so it has to be a separate entity. It has to be run by somebody else. And that makes a lot of sense. And if anybody has any doubts about, well, maybe they just had a bad day. There's a great article, Dirty Bubble Media. I linked in the description. It's called Mashinsky's Flywheel. And right there is a little Bernie Madoff head. Good for them. Very long. I'm just going to paraphrase for it real quick. The Vermont Department of Financial Regulation filed a motion in Celsius Network's Chapter 11 case encouraging the appointment of a bankruptcy examiner, asserting that Celsius had admitted at the 341 meeting that the company had never earned enough revenue to support the yields being paid to investors. This shows a high level of financial mismanagement and also suggests that at least at some points in time, yields to existing investors were probably being paid with the assets of new investors. That would be a Ponzi. And it says if this claim is true, that's the definition of a Ponzi scheme. So no, I do not allow anybody from Celsius who was a part of that to go forward because they knew exactly what was going on. Here's the thing. We were under the assumption that things were on the up and up. We were under the assumption that things were going just fine. Maybe there's a little bit of hiccups here and there, but we'd rush it out. Now, as time went on, we realized that Celsius was working until it didn't, and hopefully we got it out as fast as we can. I still have some of my funds stuck on there. I'm sure some of you as well do too. So for this plan that we just took a look at over here to actually go through, it cannot in any way, shape, or form have anybody who was a part of Celsius network. Anybody. And then also, as far as there was a little part there where it said if there's a hole in the balance sheets and 30% or 70% will be returned to the users. I don't know if that's even legitimate to go through. This is the actual hole in the Celsius liabilities and assets for their profit and losses. And you can find, I linked this also in the description. So here's the liabilities, and this is in millions. So user liabilities, 4 billion, 720 million. Celsius liabilities, custody and other. So the total liability is 5.5 billion. And here's what they have on hand. Here's the assets. Bank cash, crypto assets. Okay. Loans. Hopefully, I don't know, I wasn't going to get paid back. Allowance for doubtful accounts. That doesn't sound good. Net loans, assets, mining assets, 720 million. That's a big number. I think that's what they're banking on. It's the assets, the miners, or for the actual rigs that they're using, not the actual Bitcoin that's producing right now. It's not doing too much because they're only halfway at capacity. Custody assets, sell token, other total assets is 4.3. So there's a hole, and this was as of July 13th. There may be some updated information, but you're looking at about a billion hole somewhere. And that's a big hole to make up. And then, of course, if we take a look, here was a document filed on August 2nd for the baseline liquidity, which what they have right now. And again, this is in millions. The baseline liquidity on what they say right now, roughly 111 million. And then, of course, as operating expenses go down, legal fees and everything else, the longer this drags on, folks, the less money they're going to have. And then 9th of September, 107 million, 101 million, going down to 30th of September. Let's just go to the top. 25th of November, they're saying that they'll still have some money left to actually go through with different things, 42 million. But again, 111 million to 42 million, that's not going to crush us. What's going to crush us is if this drags out. So let your voice be heard. Tell people what you think should be a good one. And the best way to do that is to sound off on the Celsius official committee of unsecured creditors and tell them what you think. This is a bad idea. This is a good idea. It's up to you. Put that into your hands. So let me know what you think about that also in the comments. Let's move on to our last piece. Oh, pretty good. Ian Bellina and Token Metrics. I got to tell you, they did a pretty good thing. This is what happened. So I had Ian on the show on August 11th, 2022, and he was talking about Astrobot Society, NFT, and I'm like, yeah, man, sure, come on, it sounds pretty good. But what they did was pretty interesting. And they did this. I don't think you can do this right now. They've already meant it. It's already done. But I just want to say it was a good idea. And what they did was, and there's the live stream you can watch with Ian, how it all went down. What they allowed you to do was, let me just click on pricing. Instead of paying, because right now it's Token Metrics, it's an AI-driven platform, research and really good stuff, good stuff. And they have different tiers for their membership: $20 a month, $100 a month, $300 a month, or $750 a month for different levels, right? And that's how we all know how things to go. That's the old system. That's just the way that we're used to things, right? Makes a lot of sense. That's what every website does in existence, pretty much. But what they did, and you can watch the video here, is you were able to mint one of their NFTs, this Astrobot Society, and it was, to mint it, it was 0.4 Ethereum. But what it did, it gave you lifetime access to the Token Metrics platform on different tiers. And what was great about that, I thought it was pretty good because you get lifetime access and everything's good. You don't have to keep paying, right? But what I thought was really cool about it was two things. First of all, if at some point you're just like, I don't really like this. This isn't for me. I want to get out of crypto, or I've gotten all the information I have, or I just didn't really get into it, whatever. The great thing is that your membership, you can sell it to somebody else. Where else can you do that? Like in any website that you've ever been to where you're like, oh, I'd like to not be a member. Sure, stop paying and you're not a member. But you can't take the equity that you've built into the membership of any kind of these websites and then put them on OpenSea or something like that and then sell your lifetime membership. And here you can. I thought that was pretty cool how they did that. Now, some people say, it's not that great. What else? Still, to me, I think it's a step in the right direction. And then if you go to, let me see here. Let me go back. If you go to their actual website now, and oops, let me blow this up so you can see it instead of my big face. If you go to sign in, now look at that. It validates you with your MetaMask wallet. So if you have the NFT in there, you get your lifetime access to whatever tier that you have. And then, of course, it can just be sold off to other people when you want to. And then lastly, I want to say this. There was a great, because I never really got into NFTs. I thought they were dumb, honestly, as far as like the utility. But for that NFT, I get it. And here's a great example of things that could be done. And right here, you can see like transferable tickets and passes, domains and usernames, which kind of like what it is. But a digital ID, tickets, proof of where is this at? Proof of achievement and skills, your profile, crowdfunding. Wouldn't that be great for all the Canadian truck drivers? Intellectual property, real estate, counterfeit protection, financial NFTs, music rights, emails. That's a good one, emails and messages. We talked about this before, but it just goes on and on. So the thing you have to ask yourself is which platform is it going to be built on? Because, for NFTs, is it all going to be Ethereum with those fees? I don't know. Or maybe it'd be some other type of layer one solution. But that's for you to decide. And that's why I actually dollar cost average into a lot of different layer one solutions. And that's it for today. So look, that takes care of today in the news. 17 minutes, not too bad. A little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But that's it. If you got to get out of here and go watch football, I'm with you. But if you want to stick around for a little Q&A, let's do that real quick. And I'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities. And let's start that right now, huh?